brings home the point. No matter how you design it, no matter how well you think you've designed it, there is always going to be someone who is going to find a different way to use it, the way you didn't intend it, and then it breaks, then it falls apart, then it can possibly become a danger to others, and then suddenly you have the security issues.
Keith Johnson, quand vous écrivez, pareil, est-ce que cette fonction de message, d'alerte, est importante à vos yeux ou pas?
I would have said no 5 years ago. But in the last year, I just had a story come out online in English called The Privilege of the Happy Ending. And the story is about Syrian orphans, actually, without ever mentioning Syrians and only mentioning orphans a few times. And what I find is that all fiction has a message. Everything we write has some message, and if we're not careful, we're just not in control of the message that we're sending. So our job as writers is to become very hyper mindful of the ways people are going to break our stories, just as they break microwaves. And say, can this story be misread? And so all too often the answer is, if you are not careful, it certainly can be. Stories can be read both as, I've had stories that can be read either as very feminist, very central to the woman's experience, and also as rape fantasies. And they're not, these are in this case two completely different stories, but they are reading the same words I wrote.
Sure. Well, you make the point that with video games, with technology, with stories, no matter what, it's one part of it is what is created, and the other part is how it is used. The reader is always going to bring their own perceptions to the story. They're going to bring their own political point of view. They're going to bring their own social point of view. They're going to interrogate the material differently than you did, and sometimes it's absolutely wild. When I wrote Old Man's War, most of the people who read that assumed I was politically conservative in the way that Americans are politically conservative. Then they came to my website and they were like, oh no, that's not him at all. But they were so used to interpreting military science fiction in a particular way and interrogating it in a particular way that's where they came to it from. And to some extent, you can't fix the other person. Unless you are handpicking the people who are reading your material, and even then, you would have to be 100% sure of all of their politics, all of their perspectives, to assure that they would get it exactly the way you meant it. Ultimately, the only person who's going to get it the way that you meant it is you. Everybody else is going to interpret it one way or the other. You can do what you can do, as Keith mentions, to make your messages clear as possible, but ultimately, you have to accept the fact that it goes out to somebody else.
Oui, je crois qu'on s'en rend particulièrement bien compte maintenant avec les réseaux sociaux. Moi, je sais que j'ai commencé à écrire en 1998. J'ai eu très peu de retours sur mes premiers livres, très peu de retours des lecteurs, sauf parfois en dédicace, mais ça n'allait pas loin. Et puis avec l'avènement de Facebook et des réseaux sociaux, tout d'un coup, j'ai eu des tonnes de réactions de lecteurs. Alors parfois très positives, parfois très négatives, parfois très injustes, même parfois totalement incompréhensibles pour moi. Quand on me renvoyait l'image de mon livre, je ne le reconnaissais pas. Je me disais non, c'est pas possible, j'ai pas écrit ça, c'est autre chose, ils ne l'ont pas lu, c'est pas vrai. Et c'est vraiment très étonnant en fait, la façon dont les gens peuvent effectivement interpréter ce qu'on a écrit, mais de façon totalement tordue, enfin, parfois avec de la mauvaise volonté aussi, ou parfois effectivement très teinté de leurs propres idées politiques ou sociales, du milieu d'où ils parlent finalement. Et c'est là qu'on s'aperçoit que ça peut aussi énormément varier dans le temps. Je pensais au roman Notre île sombre de Christopher Priest, qui est paru dans les années 70, je crois, qui raconte l'histoire d'une Angleterre où beaucoup de migrants arrivent d'Afrique, parce que l'Afrique a complètement sombré dans une énorme crise économique. Et au milieu de ça, on suit un héros qui essaie tant bien de mal de survivre avec sa famille, plutôt mal que bien, parce qu'évidemment c'est le chaos. Et dans les années 70, on disait ah, voilà, c'est un livre de gauche, le héros ne s'en prend pas aux migrants, il n'est pas contre le fait de les accueillir, tout va bien, c'est un homme de gauche. Et lu actuellement, j'ai vu qu'il y avait des gens qui au contraire disaient ah non, c'est un livre de droite, regardez, il n'aide pas les migrants, il n'est pas proactif vis-à-vis d'eux, donc c'est un livre de droite voire d'extrême droite. En fait, c'est le même livre finalement d'un pauvre gars qui est paumé au milieu d'une situation qu'il n'arrive pas du tout à appréhender. Et selon l'époque à laquelle on se situe, finalement, on pourrait penser que c'est un livre de gauche ou un livre de droite, quoi. Et c'est très étonnant de voir comment les gens peuvent interpréter tout ce qu'on écrit à travers ces prismes-là.
Est-ce que du coup ça change votre manière d'écrire et notamment les thématiques que vous portez pour alerter ou sur la prévention du risque?
Ça ne change pas la façon d'écrire, mais ça change peut-être quand on parle des livres par la suite. C'est-à-dire que j'essaie de délivrer toujours un message positif, bien sûr, dans mes livres. Et je me rends compte que quand je vois, heureusement, pour entrer en contact avec les gens dans les réseaux sociaux, ou comme par exemple ici en conférence, on a aussi peut-être un service après-vente à effectuer pour constamment expliquer ce qu'on a fait et dans quel but on l'a fait. C'est ça qui est devenu de plus en plus important, je pense.
Vous êtes d'accord? Qui j'ai? Et John?
You first.
Okay. I originally would have said the writer has no moral duty at all, that the writer's job is to tell the story that needs to be told, and that to tell a story because you're trying to convey a message is polemic and artificial and manipulative. Writers are, by our nature, manipulative, because what we do is create a fantasy, we create a dream, as John Gardner said, and we make you see the same thing we do, or at least that's what we're aiming for. But I have found that was easy when nobody had ever read me. It was easy to say that, but as strangers would read things and read what they wanted to into them, I realized I do have more responsibility to not, for instance, write a story that says putting kittens in microwaves is the best thing you can do with your time, but instead say, if you put kittens in microwaves and you are the kind of person who thinks that's a good idea, this is what it looks like.
I've never really thought about putting kittens in microwaves.
I have a whole genre of that.
Yeah, you do actually, don't you? And you've won awards for it too.
Kittens in Microwaves
well
by
done.
Keys Johnson.
Yeah, the Keys Johnson story. Do we have a responsibility to be mindful of the message we put out there in the world? I think yes. I think we have to be clear about what it is that we want to say and how we want to say it. I do think that there are times where we can put things out that are speculative, that are not from our point of view, and they're, to some extent, you trust that people will, if not get it all the time, at least discuss it. And sometimes you put things out there that are meant to be provocative. They are meant to challenge people. And mindful does not mean safe.
Right.
And it's really important to say, because if all you're doing is writing are safe things, then one, you're not challenging yourself. Two, you're not necessarily challenging your audience. And three, you're probably not going to be writing anything that's going to stay in anybody's memory longer than it takes the time to read it. So you can be provocative. You can say the thing that needs to be said. You can say the dangerous thing. But you have to be mindful when you are doing that. You can't just sort of unload it out onto the street and go, ha, it's your problem now. You have to take ownership of your words, whether those words are nonfiction, whether you're on social media, or whether you're writing fiction. If it comes from you, you are responsible for it. And in this age, people are more than willing to confront you and interrogate you about them. How this relates to the security and how this relates to other things, I think in many ideas the people who are putting out technology and the people who are putting out product have to deal with the same thing. You can't just put something out there and go, well, if it breaks and falls apart on you, then it's your problem. There is some responsibility with the people who are creating products like cars or microwaves or something like that. There is a legal liability. For us as writers, there's much less of a legal liability, but there is some moral responsibility. And to just say, as you said when you were younger, it's like, that's not my problem, is a little ignorant.